did the fourth day of the cold plunge, and I made it 2 minutes and 20 seconds, which is great. That's up from 1 minute and 45 seconds, which I did yesterday. So far, I'm ahead of my wife. But who knows? I think she'll probably beat me today because she hasn't gone yet. So, but I'm very satisfied with 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Today's plunge was just different. I did it first thing in the morning. I just woke up, came out in the living room, plunged right in. I had to chip the ice away. It took a lot more effort because of how cold it was last night. It was probably 9 degrees when I woke up. I checked it a couple minutes after the sun started coming up, and it was 10 degrees. So I'm guessing it might have been 8 or 9 degrees when I plunged. And so this one just hit different, and it hit very deeply. Physically it hit deeply, probably because it was so cold. The ice was very thick. I could barely fit in there actually, because I had to carve out a little space, and it was just tough to get in there. But and then emotionally too, and I know that, doing this, I mean, essentially when you do this, you are on the road towards death. If I was to stay in there, obviously, for longer, I could do some serious damage, whether it be frostbite or, inflict hypothermia on myself or whatever that is. But that, those are the physical effects. What that does to you psychologically, I'm trying to learn more about through podcasts and things like that. And Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist, I'm trying to listen and gain more information from him. But it just struck me deeply emotionally. It really opened up some things inside of me that I wasn't necessarily anticipating. I think subconsciously I know they're there, but to see that brought before your eyes consciously it's kind of disturbing in a way, but it's also very necessary, I think. And I think that it just ties into the overall concept of suffering. And in order to get to know ourselves better in life, we have to endure some type of suffering. And a lot of times, the harder the suffering, the bigger the payout in wisdom. And this was true with my drug addiction. There was a lot of suffering involved with that, a lot of pain coming out of that. And in turn, I got a lot of wisdom out of that. I mean, I was given enough knowledge to write a couple of books, probably more. And I had a certain awareness of myself that wouldn't have been there otherwise. So I had to go through that suffering in order to get to know myself a little better and dig through those issues that I have. Now, I think there are smarter ways to go about suffering. Obviously, I would not recommend anyone go into a drug addiction just to fool themselves into thinking they're going to get this profound wisdom, and maybe you can write a book about it, or whatever, get props from your loved ones when you come out of it, because it's obviously not that simple, and you're risking death every time you use, if you're using the right substances. But I do think there are ways to inflict suffering on yourself in a much more structured way, this being one of them, the cold plunges. My workouts, essentially, I'm inflicting suffering on myself. I'm inflicting stress on my body, and the benefits are great. I recover from that. Much like the cold plunge today, I get things brought out of me emotionally when I go through a hard workout. I have a different type of self-awareness that wouldn't have been there otherwise, and that's because it takes dipping into that tough place, that void inside of all of us. And when I was here this morning and still recovering from that plunge, because it took something out of me. It was hard. But when I was sitting here recovering from that, I just felt this deep sense of connection to my spirit and spirituality and my mortality too. And I had a whole bunch of crazy thoughts about how, all of us just have some type of void inside of us. We all do. None of us are complete on this earth. Our spirit is just layered beneath us, and what we go through in this life and perceive with our eyes and or see with our eyes and perceive with our brain just leaves us feeling kind of empty sometimes. And I've gone through that a lot in my life. A lot of it was related to my drug addiction, losing friends, whatever else. But in confronting that, I know that I'm going to grow stronger from it. And being aware of that hole that's inside of me is going to, what happened was I felt the emptiness. I felt the almost like a state of melancholy. And then immediately I saw my 18-year-old stepson drive away on his way to school, and I got this overwhelming sense of gratitude right after that. And I was just so grateful that I have people in my life, people around me, my wife and our sons, and just I have so many good things going for me. And I think for me that put in perspective that the void inside of me is going to, it's almost like a black hole. It tries to suck in anything and everything it can. It's just this overwhelming, what do I want to say, this ravenous vacuum that will use anything to try to fill it up, and it never gets full. Whether it's, I've tried to use drugs before, I've tried to use food, I've overdone workouts, I've overworked, I've used hatred to try to deflect that vacuum. But it's always kind of there, and if you fill it with the wrong things, it's going to keep sucking and sucking whatever it can deep down into it. But when I had that feeling of gratitude, just that total reflection, and that total reflection of life, that made everything go away. And it was a lot less about me and a lot about all the wonderful things around me. And my ego shrunk, and you suddenly get put in perspective all these wonderful things you have around you. And so that was kind of my experience today, and I'm still kind of recovering from it. I'm exhausted, physically and emotionally, just from a 2-minute cold plunge. And that's why I wanted to do this. The challenge is fun, and I like, challenging my wife. I like the challenge that everyone else challenges me on. When I talk about people and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool what you're doing on Facebook. I love that. I love the competitive side. But what I experienced today is why I wanted to do it. Even if there is a little bit of emotional suffering involved and a little bit of insecurity and fear too. Like I said, doing things like this, challenging yourself to this level, brings out things inside of you that are scary. And I had a very scary time confronting that today, but I know I'm going to be a better man because of it. And I am overwhelmed with gratitude at the end of it all. Glad to be alive, glad to survive everything I've survived, and just glad to have the people around me that I do. So what's the point of all this? Challenge yourself and put yourself through structured suffering. I think it will pay you off in more ways than you could even imagine. You know, if it's something like the cold plunges, do your research, make sure you're doing it safely. If it's, you know, maybe it's starting at the gym, maybe it's starting a big project, whatever, put yourself through some discomfort and some pain, and you're going to learn things about yourself that you didn't even know were there. I had no idea I was going to feel this morning, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. And like I said, I'm a stronger man because of it. I can't wait to see what more plunges bring, and share it with you guys. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys have a great day.